Tell 'em I'm so free, I got no chains on me. I'm so free, I got no chains on me. Nappy hair, no shame on me. I'm so free.
Hi everyone, welcome to a brand new installment of The Lounge where we sit down with ordinary people with extraordinary stories. We want to thank everybody who tuned into our last episode. We really do appreciate that. Today I have the privilege and the honor of sitting down with a young lady who at the age of just 14 years old experimented with drugs and alcohol, which led her down a road of depression. But she turned her life around. Now she is not only a loving wife, but also a mother of one and a very valuable member of our congregation. Joining us today, Kelela Bell. Lela, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you
for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time and the fact that you would come out and share your story with us. And so we wanted to, let the audience at home know a little bit about yourself, your upbringing. So now you're based in Australia, but originally you're from New Zealand, is that right?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in New Zealand.
Yep. Awesome. And so you still got family there who probably might even watch this, yeah?
Yeah, my mum's still there, along with other family.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I got a really, really important question for you. So when it comes to rugby and all that sort of stuff, who did you support? Did you support New Zealand or Australia?
All Blacks, of course.
Okay, we don't want to cause any division at home, and so she did go for the All Blacks. So growing up in NZ, is it different to growing up in Australia? Because obviously now you live in Australia, and is it any different, or it's pretty much the same?
For me, it was different. I'm from a small country town, and we didn't have much, but I had what I needed. But kids are just roaming the street looking for something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you sort of do? Growing up. Were you into sports or?
Yeah. I was into sport. I was really into netball, so that's something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in the Silver Ferns when I was older.
Well, there you go. You got your opportunity now. And so, growing up, so you were involved in sport. How would you describe yourself? Were you a happy kid or?
Yeah, I mean, it was just me and mum at home, so I was pretty independent. I'll do my own thing, but I was quite reserved at the same time. I was pretty quiet. I was that quiet kid in the class, didn't say much. But I wanted to do good at school, and I wanted to go to university.
Yeah, get good grades,
and
and so, but something I noticed that you mentioned there, so you said it was just you and mum at home. Was dad around at that time, or?
So when I was about 4, my dad moved to Australia, and it was just me and mum at home. For a few years there, I did live with my auntie and my grandparents, but mainly just me and mum. Yeah.
And did you really notice, that absence of a father figure in the home, or it's sort of, you didn't really notice it at all? Or?
I mean, at the time I didn't, really notice it. Obviously, I always, I wished I was like the other kids who had a mum and a dad and, the family household going on.
Sure.
But I wasn't, and I did, hate that in the end. I started.
I guess as anyone would, and so. Obviously, growing up in a home with an absent father home, did it change much growing up, or did it impact your life at all, or? I
would say it did. I didn't feel like I had authority figures. I didn't feel safe or like I had people to support me really. I know it was just me and mum, but we did have our struggles, and at 14, that really started to show. That's the first year of high school in New Zealand. So I chose to rebel. I started making decisions to kind of do my worst at school and hanging out with crowds so we could party and drink. I started smoking weed and doing all the things I said I never would do.
Yeah, and so how old were you when you started getting into that scene?
14.
14, wow. Such a young age. And so you mentioned you got into the drugs and all that sort of stuff. Do you think that, being exposed to that lifestyle was a result of that, absent father figure in the home? Did it play a big role? Yeah,
I mean, growing up, that was around me. I saw people partying and drinking, smoking weed and stuff.
And did you know at the time, or did you feel Like, did you look at drugs in a different light and alcohol? Like, did you think, nah, I'm never going to do that stuff?
Yeah, it disgusted me, you know. I loved, you know, the people that were doing it, they're my family and stuff, but I was like, no, I'm never going to do that, be like them. I want to get out and do good for myself, get a good job.
Yeah, and
Never
so
touch
you,
it.
you had a bit of a drive in you to do well, but obviously just got caught up in that bad crowd.
Yeah.
And so, did you ever try to stop or get out of that lifestyle?
When I was 15 years old, that's where things were kind of getting worse progressively,
sure.
and I knew it. I knew I was about to make some real stupid decisions, and it was going to lead. Like, I still didn't want to be like that, even though I was doing those things. So I moved to Australia to my dad. I made that decision.
Yeah,
to get a
and
better
that's
life.
in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, that's in
Yeah.
Melbourne.
And that was sort of to escape that whole party scene and
Yeah.
I guess start a new life.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows in New Zealand, like, Australia is where the good life is,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice
So you heard it
city
here
life.
first.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so I thought that would happen to me too, you know, I could go there and have this new life and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so you've moved to Australia, and how old were you at that point?
15.
15.
16, yeah.
And so you were in high school by that time.
Yeah.
And was it hard? You know, you're coming from New Zealand, high school, you know, new friends, new scenery. Was it hard to adjust to all of that, or?
Yeah, I went to 2 different high schools in
Sure.
Melbourne, and you know, that alone, you're meeting so many people, and you stick out because you have this New Zealand accent, and you know, it was tough. Like I didn't know who I should be, you know, or what I should be like, who should I hang out with. I kind of felt like an outsider, but
Sure.
yeah.
And so moving to Melbourne, did you fall into the same crowd as before, like the party crowd with the drugs and all that, or was it was it different this time?
It was different, and the schools I went to, they were very different from in New Zealand. Like, they were good schools. People were trying to do good. There were no fights every day, and there were no like people bringing drugs to school and that kind of thing. They were quite good schools, so I did stop doing all that when I was living in Melbourne.
Yeah. And did you find that acceptance that you were looking for, moving to Australia and being with your family and your father and whatnot?
It didn't go how I wanted it to go. I didn't really find that. You know, I had high expectations for everything, but you know, they weren't met, and it just wasn't. I didn't get that when I moved there, even though I thought, you know, having the family kind of lifestyle
Absolutely,
would bring me that, but
but you also mentioned prior to this we talked about your story, and one of the things that you mentioned is that's when you sort of had your first taste of church. Is that right?
Yeah. So my family there, they go to church in Melbourne, so I started going to church for the first time.
Yeah.
And that alone, it was like a huge change. It took me a while to understand, you know, what was going on and stuff. But that's the first time I learned about Jesus and you know, God and who He is, and
Did you think at that point, like, I want to make this my life, you know, become a Christian and all that stuff, or were you like, maybe, or?
Yeah, it was a bit hard because there was a whole lot going on, like, outside of that. I didn't really have a good chance to, you know, dig deeper or find out if God was real and if that's something, you know, I could do. So I kept a little something in me, you know, as I left that whole lifestyle.
Sure.
I could see something, but
I
didn't get to do that.
Yeah. And so, what then after that? So that whole scene didn't work out. You got a bit of taste of church, but you know, not the whole experience. So what did you do after that?
So I finished high school, 19. I moved back to New Zealand, and so that's where I got a job, I got a car, I rented my own house, and you know, I had money.
Yeah,
So
which are big things, you know.
Yeah. I thought that's, you know, I'm living it good now, so that's all I need. And I thought that again would bring me that, you know, I don't know, purpose or fulfillment.
That stability and.
But it didn't do that.
Didn't work out.
No.
Wow, and so, you know, everything that you had hoped for, were you sort of disappointed at that point? You know?
Yeah, I was a little scared as well. Like, I didn't know what the future would hold. I didn't know where to go from there because I felt like I had tried so many things to, you know, be happy or get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you felt like you were running out of options.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, so where do you go from there?
Yeah, from there I started like blowing my money. I started clubbing, going to partying again. This time worse, and I was smoking weed every day. I fell into a deep depression, and I just wanted to escape from reality. So I was binge drinking, just making stupid decisions, trying to do my worst. I guess to cut through the numbness that I had.
Yeah.
Because I started, really closing off, and I just.
Yeah, and so by this time, were you, I guess, better with relationships, like making friends and things like that, or it still wasn't really happening for you?
I mean, when you're doing that kind of thing, the friends you make are, the ones that are doing the same thing. So we're all in the same boat. We all don't know what we're doing, where we're going. We're all trying to, find something. So just dabbling with the drugs and everything.
Yeah, and it sort of sounds like you just had basically no direction in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were looking for something. Were you still looking for something at that point? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying, but I had quite, literally ran out of hope. I didn't know where to look or what to do anymore. And things were getting worse and worse, with the crime I was getting involved with here and there. And I knew that it was going to take a road that I couldn't come back from.
Yeah. Wow.
So I really, I didn't know what to do.
But obviously now you're a wife and a mother, so something must have changed.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the turning point in your life?
Yeah. I mean, amongst the craziness, one of my friends, she got invited out to a church service.
Wow.
And she went to a few, and she came back and she was like, I'm going to live for God now. I'm changed.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah. And she's like, she was, the worst one out of all of us. But she's like, I'm not going to do drugs anymore. I want to do this and that. And you could tell that she had something changed in her. She had this joy that was never there. So I really wanted some of that. And I started going to church.
And how did you find it, your first service and all that? Obviously, you'd been to church before, but was it still weird or was it different? Or?
Well, this time was a bit different. I really wanted to find out if God was real or not. So I went there and I was, asking questions, talking to people, and they were sharing their stories of how they came to know God.
Wow.
And they were really crazy. They had crazy backgrounds or they were crazy. And it was you couldn't tell that by talking to them. So I was like, far out, if God can do that for them, surely he can do something with me.
Yeah, and I've met some of these people, and it's crazy, meeting some of these young guys who, were part of the gang scene, and, some of the craziness that happened there, the crazy things that they got up to in the gang life, but when you meet them, the happiest people on earth, the most gentle people. And so meeting these people, what did it mean for you personally when you heard their stories?
Yeah, that really, it gave me hope and a newfound hope, and I was like, wow, I got excited, but I wanted to know, I wanted to have my own experience, I wanted God to show me what he can do in my life. And, I started going to church, and I was hearing the preaching as well from the pastor, and I started reading the Bible and praying.
Which you probably never did before.
No, especially prayer. I'd never prayed before.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you could have a relationship with God. And so I was like, I'm really going to lay my life down for you, God. I'm going to try my best and just show me who you are, do miracles in my life because I need them. And that's what I did, I saw miracles. I was praying specific prayers, an example would be, financially, I had made a mess. I had so many bills everywhere. And I was bad at work. They should have fired me already.
But they didn't know, which we're thankful
everyone knew
for.
it too. And so, when I started going to church, I started working hard. I started turning up. And all of a sudden, I'm getting bonuses, every week, almost.
Yeah, wow.
And even the work people and my managers, they're like, what's going on here? Something's changed.
Yeah.
And that was a blessing. And, so.
Yeah, and so you're experiencing God firsthand move in your life. And obviously, this must have changed your perspective on, your life and just how you process things and how you think. Did it really I guess, change your thought process?
Yeah, I was, by that point when I was like 19, 20, I was really tormented in the mind. I had a lot of, issues. I was very anxious all the time, and I couldn't sleep at night, or if I did, I was having these nightmares, and I was just real fearful. Like I couldn't get rid of that. I had no peace at all.
Yeah.
And one night I went and had a chat to my pastor and his wife, and they told me about fear, and that with God, you can have dominion over your thoughts and your mind.
Wow.
And you can have power. And that really spoke to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that God was stronger than the devil.
Yeah.
Like, so the thought of me being with God and him being able to set me free from my mind, and I don't have to be scared of that anymore. All those things that really tormented me, that really set me free, and I had peace for the first time.
Yeah.
From that.
And it changed everything, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It changed everything.
So yeah, you spoke about the fact that you went and saw your pastor and his wife, and you sat down with them, and something that's interesting to me, through my observation, I've seen that a lot of guys that grow up in fatherless homes, they're not always the best at forming relationships with, father figures in the community or authority or things like that. Was that a struggle early on for you, forming a relationship with your pastor?
Yeah, I mean, I was intimidated at the start, because I thought that you don't talk to pastors, they're all high and mighty.
Yeah, sure.
Just
they're
don't go there.
exclusive and
But some people had encouraged me to go and just have a chat with him, and so I did. And I learned that I could really, trust my pastor and his wife, and that there was no like condemnation. I thought they'd be like, oh, that's bad, you can leave now, or you don't belong here. But no, they really encouraged me, and I was able to form a relationship, especially with my pastor, which I never had before. I didn't really have that father figure that I could trust and rely on.
And so how long have you been a Christian now?
It's 4 years now. Yeah.
And obviously it's been worth it, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been easy. It's been hard, but, the best decision I've made, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm no longer in that miserable life.
And I think a lot of people, they don't understand that, they think that you become a Christian, everything's just fine. But no, you still have to, fight every day in prayer and things like that, still have to build a relationship with God. But you obviously seem to have it, put together pretty well. Was that easy as well, or that was over time you built that? Yeah,
I mean, definitely over time. Like some of the things you think you've overcome, they can come back, but it's like a constant battle. You gotta pray every day, especially for forgiveness. I had a lot of unforgiveness, towards parents and people, and I blamed a lot. But learning that God can forgive me of all that I've done, I could then start praying to forgive them, to forgive people.
Yeah.
And so that's something I had for the first time, like that burden taken off of me.
Yeah. And so how is your relationship? If you don't mind me asking, we want to be sensitive to the families and the viewers and whatnot, but how is your relationship with your family now?
Yeah, that was a big thing for me, like as I came to know God, was, my parents. As a young kid, I started blaming them a lot. I blamed mum, I blamed dad and stuff. But, I came to know that, God restored our relationships.
Yeah.
I'll say that. And we have great relationships now. I talk to my dad and my family over there often, my brothers and sisters now. And I talk to my mum every day,
Wow.
I love her,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity of meeting them at your wedding, and great people, and your dad's a bit of a joker. He likes to joke actually a lot, which I guess your wedding reception appreciated. I know I did, but yeah. And so you've got a great relationship with your family, and you're a mother now, and so when did that all happen?
So I'm married now.
Yeah, you're married now?
I've been married for about a year. And
wow.
So obviously now I'm in Lismore, so
Yeah.
I moved to my amazing husband in Lismore.
Shout out. Come on.
And we have a beautiful baby girl who's 6 months now.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome. That's my full-time job now.
Yeah, awesome.
Stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. And so you become a Christian, your mindset changes and you see things differently. What about, becoming a wife and then a mum? Did things change again?
Yeah, that was a whole nother level,
Yeah.
It's one thing to try and work on yourself, but now I have a husband and a child. But it's such a blessing. It's hard. It's definitely hard.
Yeah.
But it's a
worth
blessing
it.
from God, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. And so as we wrap this up, where do you see yourself going? Yourself and your family. Where do you guys see yourself going now? What's the plan for the next 5 years or so?
Yeah. Well, we believe God's got exciting things ahead for us. We now have a purpose, which life has meaning, which I didn't really have before. And we believe that my husband is called to go out and preach, so that'll be us as a family.
Yeah.
We believe we'll go out, start a church, and tell people about Jesus, and He can change their life. Yeah, we'd really like to. Well, my husband has a heart for the Indigenous people, so we'd love to go and really get involved in that people group. And I've always had a heart for young people, knowing as a young person what I went through.
You want people to have the same happiness that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. And so, I guess just to wrap things up, obviously there's going to be people, not just a part of this fellowship, but just believers in Christ in general that are out there and through this whole period that are feeling lonely like you felt, and maybe are going through some tough times. What's your advice to some of those believers out there?
Yeah. Well, for me, isolation in the past, or not being around people, that can really open up for attacks on your mind. You can kind of linger in your mind too much, and or you can fall into depression. But I'd really say that just staying close to God, building that relationship with Him, setting it on fire again, even strengthening your weaknesses, or sharpening your strengths in this time is a really good thing to do, and stay connected with your brothers and sisters. So if you're going through something or need a chat, just reach out. Don't just stay to yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess everyone has a phone too, so
exactly.
It's always a call away. But final question, and for me, one of the most important questions. Maybe there's girls out here, that are going through what you went through when you were younger, and who need a bit of hope, a bit of inspiration and whatnot. And so what would be your advice to girls in similar situations to you right now?
Yeah, well, for me as a 14-year-old girl, I'll tell myself, I know you're looking for acceptance. I know you're looking for love. I know you want something to live for. You want people that care about you. You want to be a part of something. You don't need to go out and party or find boys, girls, or experiment with drugs. You don't need to go and do your worst, get involved with crime and stuff, because at the end of that, all you're going to get is heartbreak or depression, suicidal thoughts. That's very real, and you don't have to do all that. There's a God that loves you and that has a plan and purpose for you. And if you just really seek God, go reach out to somebody that knows God and talk to them. There's always someone that's willing to talk and help you through. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate your time, and I know for a fact that people watching this will appreciate you sharing your story and allowing us to go into those deep, dark, intimate moments of your life. So thank you so much for being on here today.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
You're all right. And so yeah, if you enjoyed today's episode, why don't you guys share it, like our stuff, also follow us on Instagram, Lismore Potter's House, subscribe on our channel on YouTube, and hit the bell notification so every time we post, you'll know about it. We just want to thank you guys for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed today's interview. Thanks.